What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, well, continuing our series here, we have done fire, we have done water. I'm going through all of the Gladiator cards splinter by splinter because with the conscription ability and the new soulbound summoners coming around where you can play Gladiator cards in ranked play, they are going to be much more prevalent. So it's the conscription ability with the summoners. It is the conscription rule set, and Gladiator tournaments already went live in a recent update. So I just feel like we're going to be seeing them around, and that's why I'm going splinter by splinter and really trying to do a deep dive into all of the different cards here, because I'm only playing with them at the lowest levels, but I am actively trying to level mine up as quickly as possible, buying Gladius packs and participating in my guild's phrase. So here we go. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Now, these two I really like. There's Birchall Gobson and Controlba Gobson, and they are very, very similar. Well, obviously they have similar names. I wonder if they're related, but so Birchall has the opportunity ability, Controlba has the sneak ability, and if you've watched my previous videos for fire and water, you'll know that any not melee, but any gladiator cards that have the sneak or opportunity ability, I really like, because they are able to find or potentially get to some of the weaker monsters much more quickly and do some serious damage. So let's go ahead and start with Birchall. Now, Birchall is great for 2 mana right off the bat at maxed for bronze, so you do need 14 BCX. At max for bronze, you're doing 2 mana, 2 damage, a speed of 4, and of course opportunity. So he's weak, but in these smaller mana games, I feel like he can start to grow relatively quickly, just because, I mean, he's able to try and get one of those other monsters as quickly as possible, and ultimately, you know, take advantage of the Bloodlust ability. Now, the reason that he's not as powerful, I would say, right now is because the meta is so dominated by Queen Mycelia. And most of the time, even if he is fast, you're going to have to work through a lot of armor first before you can take out a monster. And so many times, it's not that I don't like using him, but I find myself just opting for maybe more magic protection or a magic attack rather than using someone like him. But I have used him at certain periods in the past, and he's come in handy here and there. So again, not amazing, but definitely not terrible by any means. Now, when you get to the higher levels here in silver, again, you're increasing the health, so he does get a little bit more robust. You get health of 5. It's the same attack and speed. But when you get into gold, things do get a little bit interesting. So max for gold, you do have an increased attack. So now 2 mana for 3 damage at a speed of 4 is kind of nice. Obviously, you have the opportunity ability, but you also pick up the poison ability. So, you know, now it's, even if you don't kill the lowest health monster, there's a chance that it will die by the end of the turn if you are able to deliver the poison. And lastly, at the highest levels, you do get 4 damage for 2 mana with a speed of 5. So this card does get progressively better over time. And I can imagine him being actually quite dominant and useful in a lot of the meta, especially now that there is kind of this like anti-magic meta within Earth. I would be curious to see, as Queen Mycelia doesn't necessarily become less popular, but as people start to play different types of Earth lineups that aren't so magic focused. Obviously, Queen Mycelia would still be popular in that. But with Rust, for example, being something that might be more available, we see that with Scavo, Technomancer in the Riftwatcher set. This might be a card that could have a lot more utility. Now, Controlba is a juiced up version, which I really, really like. And you can see here, much more mana, so 3 times the mana at 6. But the beautiful thing here is you get a double strike at level 1 in the sneak position. So you are able to, you know, she's not fast starting off, but let's go ahead and max this for bronze, which is 14 BCX. So for 6 mana, you're doing 2 damage, but it's actually 4 damage to the back line, speed of 3, health of 4. not terrible. Now, you do get a, I would say, useful-ish ability at level 5 max for silver with the snare. So a lot of times you might see like a Pellicore Bandit or some other flying monster at the back. And so the snare ability can come in handy, especially if you are playing in a, we'll call it a like an Earthquake rule set or something like that, where they're trying to hide some of their flying monsters towards the back. That could come in really handy, especially with a double strike. So, well, obviously you're not going to miss if the monster has flying, but the double strike just allows you to get even more damage in. And then at that level, you do get that third attack. So now you're doing 6 damage for 6 mana in silver, which is kind of nice. Bump this up for gold, and there aren't many changes, I would say, between here. So you do get an extra health, you get an extra speed, and I guess that's it. Yeah, so extra health, extra speed, and that's it. Oh, and 2 extra speeds. So at level 8, which is maxed for gold, you jump from a speed of 3 to a speed of 5. So she becomes much more deadly, much more efficient in that way, because now you're doing that damage much earlier. And then maxed out, actually not even maxed out, but once you get to 9, you do get the cripple ability, which is one of the things that I really like with Dampier Infiltrator, the Dragon Rewards card. So, for 2 more mana, you're getting so much more damage. A much higher speed. You get that cripple ability with snare. This is a card that I really like. I have used quite a bit, but between her and Birchall, it's more situational. Now, you can see further down the line here that I do have a Quora, so I have not used these guys in a while because I'm one of those people who always finds a way to spam Quora, and we'll get to Quora in a moment. Let's go through the rares first. So, 1 mana, Cutty Breeze. This dude is interesting, but I've actually never used him. 1 mana, speed of 4. You do get 1 damage, so it's an interesting prospect if you have just 1 mana left. You do get a nice mana to damage ratio, and then max for bronze is a speed of 5. So I mean, it's not amazing, but it's also not a terrible use of 1 mana, especially if you use him, for example, with someone like Fernheart, which gives everybody close range, or maybe someone like Prince Renin, right? He can have immediate utility in a small or tight mana game. Now, at the silver or max for silver, you do get an extra health as well as extra attack. So now 1 mana for 2 damage at a speed of 5 is starting to look pretty juicy. And then we get the Shatter ability as well as an increased health in gold, which is kind of nice, especially with all of the armor meta that is out there. And then finally, at the maxed level, you have 1 mana for 3 damage and 6 speed. Again, if you have 1 mana left, this is not the worst place to use it. In fact, this might be one of the best places to use it in some instances, just to get more damage on the board. So I'm not using him now, but I can see myself using him once I get him up to, I don't know, maybe level 3, level 4, or maybe with the Shatter ability, that'll be more valuable for me. We'll see where it ends up happening. But right now, I only have him at level 1. So yeah, I don't even have enough to get a level 2. So the other one, Paladon Rack. Here is another card that I don't think I have actually ever used. I just like the tanks that I have right now for the Earth Splinter. There's a lot of solid ones there from rewards cards, from Chaos Legion, from from Chaos Legion and rewards cards, mainly what I end up using. You do get the Bloodlust ability from the start, like every Gladiator card has. 3 damage, speed of 2. He does have a lot of health, which is something that I've always looked at, but I never quite use. Again, I use Quora most of the time, so it doesn't make much sense for me. Now, would I use him? Maybe in certain instances, if I could also use Quora, right? So the conscription rule set with a conscription summoner, maybe that could definitely be an option. When you get to the higher levels here, though, so in silver, you do get, or max for silver, I should say, you do get the stun ability, but again, he's just quite slow. So I would probably opt to throw him into a reverse speed rule set, if anything. But again, makes for a nice meat shield, and 7 mana for that isn't terrible. At the highest levels, or I guess at gold, nothing really changes at gold. You do get more health, but then at the highest levels, you get the strengthen ability. So a decent support card. Again, do I see myself using him in this current context? No. But obviously things can change. The meta can change with new cards, new summoners, and all that. So we'll see what things look like maybe when Rebellion comes out. And if by then I have him leveled up to 4 or 5, that could be interesting. Okay, and then the mighty Quora. Now, Quora is awesome. I really love using her. I don't always win with her, but she is still a lot of fun. So you can see here, this is an epic card. So you do get to use, I believe, level 2 at the bronze level. But, you know, for myself, I don't even have enough BCX for level 2. So right now, it's 11 mana. 2 magic damage, 2 melee damage, speed of 3, and self heal. This is a beast of a card, and especially if you use it with something like Llama, it's going to be game over in most instances. So a lot of times Quora will actually be banned, or they will ban what's her name, Obsidian. But there are other ways to use Quora. At least if you have like a Lux Vega or with Dragon, or if you have any of the other summoners, can still be very powerful. Does 4 damage per turn at the front, but again, the beauty is being able to knock out some kills early on and then really get her buffed up, because keep in mind, every time the Bloodlust ability triggers, you will get +1 on all stats. So she becomes faster, but also instead of doing 4 damage, she goes up to 6 damage, 3 magic, 3 melee. Now, one thing that I should mention is that the main nerf, major nerf that was talked about recently with the Bloodlust ability, where Dispel is going to remove everything, could change a lot, especially for someone like Quora. It'll change for everybody, but obviously Quora was quite dominant because of that. Now, at max for silver, you do get immunity, which again, this is going to be outrageous now, because Dr. Blight, Goblin Psychic, nobody will be able to put affliction on her. So I really do feel like she becomes somewhat OP at that point. Granted, the Bloodlust ability may actually, I do wonder if you have the Bloodlust ability and you get hit with Dispel with immunity, what happens then? Does the immunity repel that? That's a good question. I'll need to ask around and find out. But speaking of Dispel, at the higher levels, so maxed for gold, which is level 5, you do get the Dispel ability as well, which is kind of nice. And then at the maxed out versions, you have an increased melee attack, so you're doing 5 damage per turn without any Bloodlust. Again, not the fastest card, but definitely one of the more dominant cards out there. So I'm a big fan of this one, and hoping to get one more. Actually, I'm hoping to get 7 more, right? Yeah, 7 more to get that immunity. So that would be phenomenal. And we have, that's not what I wanted. We have one more card. Let's go back to Gladiator's cards and Earth. One more card, which I just opened in a recent pack opener, in Gladiator's pack opening, which is the legendary card, Ginny Guys. Now, I only have 1 BCX, but at level 1, this is very similar to a Queen Mycelia. And I find myself, if I were to play in bronze, if I were to play in bronze phrase, this card would be better than Queen Mycelia, because you get the Bloodlust attached to it. It's the same amount of mana. You pay for, not pay, but you also get Bloodlust, which is fantastic. So, it's a decent card. Now, obviously, it's not going to be like Queen Mycelia exactly, but I do think that it offers a nice complementary set of abilities. So at level 2, you get the Blind ability, which is something that you would normally have to use for, Spirit Hoarder. But if you don't want to use Spirit Hoarder for Blind, for example, well, now you get Ginny Guys doing both Protect and Blind. At the 3rd level, you get Silence. So now, if you don't want to worry about too much magic on your opponent's team, and you don't want to play Queen Mycelia, Goblin Psychic, and Spirit Hoarder, you can just play one Ginny Guys, which is kind of crazy. And then at the highest levels, it's all still one magic damage and 2 health. So 5 health and 2 speed. So it's really just the abilities. This is supposed to be the ultimate, or one of the best support cards out there. You get the Resurrect ability, which if you've seen with Adelaide Brightwing or River Helendale, sometimes that can be the key within a game, just buying you an extra hit or 2 on the monster that died. Or sometimes, if the monster comes back with a ton of armor, for example, that one of my favorites to get resurrected, for example, is Legionnaire Alvar, that has all that armor. So even if he comes back with 1 health, I have a chance to heal him. I have a chance to get him back up before people are able to kind of sneak through and do that damage. So I'm a big fan of this card. I think it offers a nice complementary set of options to something like a Queen Mycelia, and it's just much more difficult to get. But overall, one of my favorite cards within this set. Again, I'm not using it much because most of the time, at this point in time, Quora is still much more dominant for me. But I do wonder what things will look like if there are bronze gladiator tournaments, or I get into a bronze fray in the future, or even like a silver level fray where I am allowed to use 2 gladiator cards for one reason or another. So again, I'm excited for this. I think there's a lot of options. I think a lot of these cards are actually quite good as opposed to the water splinter where I only found one card to be awesome. There's a bunch of really good cards here. Again, Birchall and Controlba get progressively better. Same with Ginny guys. Quora, I think, is dominant from the get-go. And Cutty Breeze is another card that's really interesting. So it's really just Paladon Rack that I haven't found a use case for at the current level and in the future. But of course, things could change down the line. So that is all I have for you guys in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.